band. You hear it?
It is necessary for the recording of sound to convert the sound waves to corresponding changes in light. The sound waves produced by my voice are transmitted through the air to the microphone, where these sound waves are converted to changes in an electric current. These variations in the electric current are then amplified and used to control the light. This varying beam of light falling on the photoelectric cell produces variations in the electric current, which are direct.
Series. I thank you all if you have listened to the first 3 and listening to this. I appreciate you spending the time and you're spending your attention too, and all that stuff. Because some of those episodes were long, so I appreciate that. Finally ending it, and I'm very excited. I have to say it was a very exciting series to do and a lot of fun, actually. I had a really good time working with these two. And I do want to thank you both very much for doing this series with me as well. It probably took close to about 2 months to do these 4 episodes. So that was a commitment that both of you took. So I do appreciate that, So thank you, and the listeners, thank them as well, or this series probably wouldn't have gotten done, or did it with somebody else and it could have sucked. So
very good, very, very good shit. I was learning a lot too, and it was fun as hell.
Yes,
yeah.
It actually is going to spin off to some pretty wild stuff. That actually is something I was going to mention at the end, but before we get into it, I do want to mention I did talk about in this series how I was going to try to explain something about like the chakras folding in on themselves. And due to the fact that certain things have come up, me and Teresa, I did show Louis a few things. Even a listener that is in the medical field has even gotten involved. I'm probably going to wait to cover that part in the next episode that comes out after this, after the guests. I'll be kind of explaining that because it will be actually more of an episode of showing occult symbolism inside your head somewhere. Symbols that you may have seen, or paintings or architecture that you may have seen, could possibly maybe be in here as well. As above, so below. Something like that. I think that will actually really add on to what I was going to try to show with the chakras folding in on themselves, because there will be things that you'll see in your head then seems to replicate itself down below again. So it really would fit with kind of the whole folding idea that I had. So when I don't get into that at the end, it's because I'm saving it for a later episode. All right, sorry, I just dragged that all out to explain that. Teresa will be joining that, and a fellow listener and fan of both the shows that we have will be joining us. So look forward to that after this series is done. And now I will shut up and let you guys introduce yourself, since I think Teresa's having technical issues over there. I'll let Louis go first. Louis, would you like to say what's up and plug your amazing podcast?
I'm glad to be finishing this, this series off freaking with a bang. So, Louis from Uncannymysticminds podcast. So you can pretty much find my stuff on all major regular platforms, the videos on Spotify and YouTube. And, so I'm glad to be here rocking again for sure.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And for the listeners, the link's in the bottom. I know I mentioned this on the last episodes, but in case this is the first time you're coming across this, besides going back and listening to the other episodes, I have done a 3-part series with Louis on planetary stuff on the NY Patriot show. Go check that shit out. It was fucking banging. I had a great time doing that.
Scroll back a little bit, some months, because apparently freaking earlier you said that shit was like over 6 months ago.
It's got to be. If I didn't have to switch screens and screw up right now, I would probably go look, but I'm sure it would just make me all discombobulated.
Yeah, but it was like a while ago. So scroll back a little bit, and it's pretty cool too.
Yeah, it was, and that was like those were like hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes. Those are pretty detailed episodes, I think. It really would have been a fitting Cult Rejects, but it was on my show, so definitely pay attention and bring your notebook and pencil with you and take some notes. So, and now we got Teresa, the most amazing co-host from Canada.
Haha. It's
What's
always so
up?
funny when you say that. What is up? I'm excited. I'm pumped to finish the chakras. But yeah, thank you for having me back.
Of course. Like I said,
yeah.
thank you both for sticking this out.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah. But yeah, I have another show with you called The Spiritual Gangsters. People can hear me on there.
Oh yeah.
Which is a lot of fun. So come check it out if you haven't already. It's a good time.
Yes, and the link's in the bottom. Again, it's a little bit more of a different show. It's a little bit more personal, which is why I love it. It's kind of a break off of real deep conspiratorial stuff, but still somehow still gravitates around conspiracies.
Yeah, man. Got to get Louis on there next.
Yeah. No, I was just gonna say it's my cup of tea. I like
put him on the spot.
I like both of the because I don't know. It's not.
That's how we get all our guests. We ask.
I know. We just steal them from the other shows we do.
I got more stories for that kind of stuff too.
I think you do. No, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
I smell it out on you.
Well, I think it's I've thought of that before. I was like, this guy like comes on this show and covers this stuff, but he works in a church. Like I just find that I'm like in order for him to do that, like he has to be pretty spiritual.
Yeah.
I think me and Louis can connect on dance stuff because you're like a b-boy, right?
Well, I had started off learning popping from my friends who were in a popping crew.
That's cool, man.
And then I ended up learning stuff from around like here in the Bay Area.
Yeah. And I used to dance hip hop, so there you go.
Hell yeah, dude.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah, no, I like that show. I like Spiritual Gangsters because I don't know. I like shooting the shit stuff as well. You know, like it's like, but it's still like relevant. And then the people that you have on like have a lot to say. Like they have like a lot to say as well. So it's not going to be like super small talk. You know, people who have nothing to say, it's officially small talk, right? And then, and then so for this one, it's like a version of that, but it's like more like I call shooting the shit. And then with that, it's always fun. It's always like you get into hijinks. It's like hijinks and fun and stuff like that.
Yeah, it usually starts with the person's like own personal story, but then it always branches out into like bigger issues and like more like current topics, you know? So I like that about the show. It's kind of like a microcosm and a macrocosm in one conversation.
Yeah, it comes back around. Exactly. Yeah, I like that.
Usually.
Yeah. Oh, you know what I do want to mention real quick, too, about the show for Spiritual Gangsters and New York Patriot and the Occult Rejects both. Rumble. Go check out Rumble because we are streaming there quite oftenly, especially like Teresa. Go check out the Spiritual Gangsters if you want to catch the lives because I'm going to stop streaming to my Rumble and you can stream to our own. So go sub over there if you want to catch the lives if you're not a fan of YouTube. You know, or if you don't feel like watching the lives on Twitter, if you want to jump in on Rumble and leave comments, just go over there and check it out. Same thing with the NY Patriot show on the Occult Rejects Rumble. The Occult Rejects and my show will both be streaming on that one Rumble platform, the Occult Rejects. So there you go. Enough of that. Both of their shows, their links are both in the bottom, like I mentioned before. And I guess if you guys don't mind, only because, like I said before, I am kind of feeling a little shitty and sick, I'm going to go and I guess start this off if you guys don't mind.
Yeah. Real quick, though, before you start, I want to say I like your hat. It's pretty
cool.
Thank
you. Yes. I figured if we were going to talk about the crown chakra, I thought it was a little phallic, so I wear my cock hat.
Exactly.
You know, where else should it go?
He's real subtle, guys. That's just...
He had to put on his crown. And
then I got the kings on my chest.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Look at this guy.
There's a reason for it all. Always.
You have a good shirt on today, Louis. Is that the Joker?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, he's like one of my spirit animals. And then so, I mean, I guess I like two concepts that are kind of card related because I like playing cards and shit. Is a wild card, which is like Joker, right? Because it could be kind of like anything in a sense, like wild card. And then I like Jack of all trades. And then because I'm not really like a lot of people specialize in stuff, which I love, and that's the people that I like to get on my show. People that are actually things and that specialize in things and that put hella, you know. And then for some reason in my journey here, I'm like a fool. I'm like a joker it's like hard for me to specialize or something. Like
I
that's like not
suffer
my
the
thing in a
same
way.
fate, my
Yeah.
friend.
Yeah. And then I remember, what was it? Seven Bomar, this pretty, he's a adept in his way for sure. He like talked about how like the Jackal is like the Joker, and then what like Jack of all trades is like tied to the Joker. And then I have my thing with that because like my birthday is on 10/6, and that's like the Mad Hatter, which is like a Joker in a way. Yeah. Yeah. And then I'm
like
all
that.
about that. For some reason I have like that's like a part of my destiny or something like that I can't get away from.
That's
So
cool.
yeah, I'm representing C.
I like it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Check it
Oh,
out.
there it is. There you go.
Yeah.
Nice.
All the way around. Yeah.
That's cool.
I do like the thing behind you too, there, Louie. Your background.
Oh, my tree of life. Yeah.
But move your head. I think it's got the black sun on there, right?
Yeah, it has the sun and the moon. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
And then I like the whole psychedelic colors, and then that whole thing. Yeah.
Very nice.
I got psychedelic in my other one in my office, and then I like that trippy, the whole trippy.
Yo, your
vibe.
office is set up pretty cool. I remember the few times that I think we did the planetary series from there, right?
Yeah.
And I was like,
once
yo,
around.
that shit's like hooked up pretty nice.
Yeah, depending on if it's an AM or a PM, or like early or later one, then and then yeah.
Yeah. Was there anything else that you guys wanted to say before I went into it? And then I can let you guys go anyway.
Nah, let her rip.
Okay, all right. Oh,
Yeah,
I will ask you though, Teresa, to please pronounce the first. Pronounce this.
Our last chakra,
Yes.
the crown chakra, aka the Sahasrara chakra.
Gesundheit.
I know, right?
Fucking holy.
It's like the most awkward one. You just have to
Sahasrara.
go for
Damn,
it.
that
Like
is a
balls to the wall. Go for the
tongue
pronunciation.
twister waiting to happen. I couldn't even let that one out. Holy crap! Good job.
I know. To be
job.
fair, I did have to review the pronunciation like I YouTubed it because I was like, I
okay.
forget how to say it. So I'm pretty sure that was right, but forgive me, anyone that speaks Sanskrit or is Indian, and it's just like she's
That was
so
very
fucking
good.
white.
She just butchered it.
good.
She just butchered the shit out of that.
No, me and NY would have butchered it. You did.
Oh yeah.
I hope so. I hope it was decent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The meaning I have for that is thousandfold on the location, the top of the head. This person has the element as thought. Manifestation could be information, personal function, understanding, psychological state, bliss. I like that one. Color, violet to white. It said seed sound, none. But then the vowel sound, I don't know. Do you know what this would be, Teresa? The vowel sound for it? It looks like it's a capital N and then a G, N, G, N, G. I mean, does that sound?
So I had basically ohm for it, like the
Okay.
AUM, not the OM. So it's like aum, like that.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think I've
So-
come across that too, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I saw
I'm
that
not
and I
sure
was
what
like,
the
I've
other
never seen
one's
that
about. You're talking about, but
Uh,
that's what I had for it.
The Sephiroth makes sense to me. Kether, which would be the top of the tree of life. And as above, so below, the planet is going to be Uranus. So you've gone from the
Funny.
top to the bottom, right
the
there,
crown to Uranus.
in through the outdoor.
Let's stop now. No.
The metal is gold. Foods, none. Fasting. Corresponding verb, to know. And then the yoga path, I was going to ask you to maybe help with this too. It's JNANA yoga.
Yana yoga.
And what is that?
I believe it's the yoga of knowledge. Oh my god, you
Okay.
put me on the spot.
That's cool.
My bad.
I
I'm
gotta
sorry. I'm
No,
sorry.
it's okay. Hold on. I'm gonna look it up real quick.
And it says or meditation. I'll keep going while you look that up. Real quick, there's a couple of herbs that it mentions: lotus and gotu kola. I don't even know what that is. Herbs for the incense. Minerals: amethyst and diamond. The pantheons, a couple of deities and stuff that I can go over. Deities would be Shiva has, or moving upward, Shakti. Other pantheons: Zeus, Allah, Nut, Enki, Inanna, Odin. Some other one I don't know how to pronounce, so I'm not going to even try. All right, so now enough of the... did you find that? What you were looking for?
Yeah, so Jnana Yoga is the path of attaining knowledge, the true nature of reality, and the practice of meditation, self-inquiry, and contemplation.
Oh, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
For sure.
I like that. Very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sorry again for putting you on the spot.
No,
I just assumed you would, and I shouldn't have
I
assumed.
hope I remember somewhat correctly, yes.
You came out with it. I mean, for your benefit. I mean, you didn't really hesitate or nothing like that. I don't know. Well,
It's similar to Jainism, if you guys have heard of that.
No, what's that?
Jain.
no.
It's the same thing. Like study of yogic knowledge and self-enlightenment, self-attainment. Yeah.
All right.
Mhm.
Interesting.
Fitting. Yeah.
Indeed.
All right, so here I'm going to go into just a couple of things that I wanted to go over, a couple of pages. I'll try to hurry it up. The element of this chakra is thought, a fundamentally distinct and unmeasurable entity that is the first and barest manifestation of the greater field of consciousness around us. Accordingly, the function of this chakra is knowing, just as other chakras are related to seeing, speaking, loving, doing, feeling, or having. It is through the crown chakra that we reach into the infinite body of information and run it through our other chakras to bring it to recognition and manifestation. The seventh chakra relates to what we experience as the mind, especially the awareness that makes use of the mind. The mind is a stage for the play of consciousness and can bring us comedy or tragedy, excitement or boredom. We are the privileged audience that gets to watch the play, although sometimes we identify so completely with the characters on stage that we forget it is only a play. I thought that was pretty interesting coming from a magician.
Hmm.
You know, sometimes I think some of the things like they say like that, if you, I think, understand magic a little bit more than the average person, those things will sometimes speak a little bit louder.
Yeah. It shows you that they know what they know.
Yeah.
Kind of what I get. Like, oh, like they actually, yeah.
Why is it even if there's people who are like known as being good or bad occultists, they all fucking still say some way of saying that it's all a stage and a play? Either they quote, Shakespeare or whoever, or they have their own ways of saying it. That is said a lot, and I think people should take that into consideration. Whatever. The crown chakra relates to the brain, especially the higher brain or cerebral cortex. Our amazing human brain contains some 13 billion interconnected nerve cells capable of making more connections among themselves than the number of stars in the entire universe. This is a remarkable statement. Our brains as instruments of awareness are virtually limitless. Yet there are 1 million sensory receptors within the body and 10 trillion synapses in the nervous system, making the mind 100,000 times more sensitive to its internal environment than to its external one.
If I could interject.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
That is a testament to the lotus petals. That 1,000 times more is because this one, this final one, is the 1,000 petals, which makes it the 144,000. Like that gives it that full number. Yeah,
I like that.
That's interesting. How it actually how like kind of like ones and zeros did follow that a lot with like referring back to like things in the brain too, if you think about it. Like 1 million or 10 trillion, it's all still ones and zeros. 100,000, it's interesting. And it's, and then we're referring back to Kether, which is the first sphere. So it is truly from a place within that we receive and assimilate most of our knowledge. From within, we access a dimension that has no locality in time and space. If we postulate that each chakra represents a dimension of smaller and faster vibration, we hypothetically reach a plane in the crown chakra where we have a wave of infinite speed and no wavelength allowing it to be everywhere at once, which kind of is like, and I've heard other people say it, and it really does sound cheesy, and I hate that, like, even like the whole phrase of downloads, like I really hate that phrase, but it does make sense. Like some of the experiences that I have had, it does feel like that, like at some point you do kind of like just spread out into like this like sea of existence, like you're just actually within everything that you're experiencing. It's really hard to explain, but I do kind of understand what it's saying here, if that's what they're getting at. It does feel like you're like within everything at once. In this way, the ultimate states of consciousness are described as omnipresent by reducing the world to a patterned system occupying no physical dimension. We have infinite storage capacity for its symbols. In other words, we carry the whole world inside our heads. I've even talked about that a lot recently, where I think symbols and like talismans and sigils, and even with art, like stuff, like for one, you don't have to open your mouth. It's just your eyes and your brain really just decoding something. It's almost like, or even writing. There's no speech involved. It is just really just you looking at something and decoding what it means or says. I do think that's like kind of like wild in a sense if you really think about it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like you could look at a sigil or a painting and like you're not going to open up your mouth, but that thing could tell you like 10 pages worth of something, like it could be that deep to somebody. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, it's encrypted and coded.
Yeah. I find that just how like you could really use a symbol to one little symbol really could take up actually so much fucking space. And you know what I'm getting at? Like, it's really weird.
Well, just the way you're describing it with like so many like neurons and like neural synapses like possible and stuff. It reminded me of that show. If you guys have seen it, 1899, that was on Netflix.
I did, and I don't even remember it anymore.
Oh man, it's so good. Okay, so it's one of my favorites that like came out recently.
I think I watched it because you suggested it so many times. Or you were telling me how great it was when you were watching it, and I was like, all right, I'll check it out. And I remember thinking it was cool, but I don't remember anymore.
So in one of the promos for the show, I don't think it's a quote from the show. I believe it's a quote by Emily Dickinson, the author. But they used it in like the commercials for the show, and it says like the brain is wider than the sky. So the whole thing is the brain is wider than the sky, for put them side by side, the one the other will contain with ease, and you beside. So it's just saying like your brain capacity is like bigger than the universe. Basically, all the universe can be contained like just right here in your head.
If you knew how big your head was, right?
Yeah,
that's crazy, right?
Yeah,
it's wild when you think about it.
Yeah, well, I don't know. It makes me feel better, like in terms of like any potential anxiety that could come. Like I'm like, no, this is all in here. It could be resolved. It's kind of like I guess it reminds you of like say like some mushroom trips back in the day where like you're just going like really tripping out hard. And then you're like, no, this is all in my head. Like, like even if I'm seeing this, whatever I'm seeing, or the wackiness, or these colors, or this or whatever it was, I'm like, no, this is a product of it's still in my mind. Still,
it's a product of the chemicals I just took that are gonna wear off.
Yeah, of this cow
the synapses. Don't worry.
Cow shit fungus that I just ate that didn't taste that good. It tasted like dirty sunflower seed shells or something like that.
Too funny. Nice. Yeah, but it's crazy how powerful it is because you're having that experience of tripping out, but conscious that you're tripping out, right? Like aware of it, and then also able to like calm yourself while it's still occurring. Like when you think about it, that's pretty wild.
Yeah, all types of stuff. I've had the this, that, and the other, I guess, with that, and so I felt like that, and then the opposite, and then on the other side. So I don't know.
It's like having a bad, like having
the whole thing, the whole gamut,
or even like having like kind of like a bad experience and still coming out of the end of it like okay, like I bet you that even does like something to you, like
dude, coming down off shrooms a lot of times was like the best. I remember I had like one early one that I remember that when I was finally coming back down, and like for me, I called it like coming back down to earth, right? And I was like cruising down El Camino, which is like a main street in the Bay Area, and I was just cruising down in I had an old school Mustang
Nice.
at the time back in when I was young, and we were cruising it like we were just driving really slow and just enjoying the hell out of every little second because you knew you came back down. You're like, oh, I'm here again. You're like, oh my god, this is so good. Like like thank goodness for all this. I've definitely been there before with that.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Oh, here, let me finish. This begins in all acts of creation begin with conception. We must first conceive of an idea before we can enact it. This begins in the mind and then descends the chakras into manifestation. Conception gives us the pattern and manifestation. Conception gives us the pattern and manifestation fills it with substance, giving it form. Pattern implies order. To the Hindus, order is the underlying universal reality. Indeed, if we look at nature and celestial universe, the apparent intelligence of its exquisite order is astonishing. I find this interesting that this is in here. Pattern relates to the word for father or patter. The father gives the seed, the DNA, the information or pattern which stimulates the creation of form. Conception begins when a pattern is adequately received. It is then the material aspect that gives substance to the pattern, as well as half the DNA. Mother comes from matter, as does the English word matter with M-A-T-T-E-R. To make something matter, M-A-T-T-E-R, it must materialize, manifest, or be mothered. In this way, Shiva provides the form or pattern, while Shakti, as the mother of the universe, provides the raw energy that materializes the form. That is, in my opinion, kind of like the Scarlet Whore on a very high arc.
That's wild. I never made that connection before. Pattern and matter, paternal and maternal.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Cool. Yeah, and then what you said about the Scarlet Whore, on the extreme level of this, it's exactly that.
Yeah, like before you even get into physical stuff, it's just the whole, even just in spirit of thought, you still need kind of like a, it's hard to explain, but yeah, I thought that was the best way to try to explain
on the extreme, you know how the chakras have different colors, so on the extreme version of the purple or the violet, then that's where you get the scarlet. For sure.
Yeah. Like I would say, like the Scarlet Whore obviously would probably be like a little bit, I guess, kind of over by Gabora heading up towards like Saturn or Binah. I would really consider like what this was talking about was like the top of the left pillar and like the top of the right pillar,
Yeah.
Which would be Binah and Chokma, at the top.
Yeah, for sure.
At this chakra, we are furthest removed from the material world and with its limitations of space and time. Find that interesting. In this sense, the seventh chakra has the greatest versatility and can encompass the greatest scope of any of the chakras, hence its state of liberation. Within our thoughts, we can jump from ancient Stone Age to visions of the future. We can imagine being in our backyard or think of a distant galaxy, all in a mere instant. We can create, destroy, learn, and grow all from a place existing within and requiring no movement or change without. Some say this chakra is the seat of the soul, an eternal and dimensionless witness that stays with us throughout lifetimes. Others say it is the point through which the divine spark of Shiva enters the body and brings intelligence. It is the master processor of all awareness, the gateway to worlds beyond and worlds within, the dimensionless circumference that encompasses all that is. However we choose to describe it, we must remember that its scope is far greater than our words can convey. It can only be experienced. And I do think if you go through that and think of things that I have said about my opinion of magic, I would say that you would have to have that experience to actually understand it. And I think that's why this was important, because it summed all that up with saying it's an experience. You have to have that, I think, to actually even understand or comprehend what was just said here. Not to make it sound like that wild, but it's saying about going other places and seeing other things. I do 100% believe that that's possible. So
yeah, I mean, with what you were just saying right now, like you would have to, how you were saying you have to experience it, I guess I kind of resonate with this in terms of like a testament to when I asked someone do you have worlds, or like, do you know of other worlds? And then the people that tell me like yes are the people that I could tell have that activated, like the top 2 activated. And then the ones who tell me the answer of they only know here, like just here on Earth, like this is where they truly reside, then they really don't know about it. And then like I keep getting the clues and the information that kind of keep showing me that. And so yeah, there's definitely truth to that.
this is the last page I got. Before I go, Teresa, did you want to add anything or say anything?
No, just the way you were describing like the dance of the energies, like the Shiva and Shakti, like the male and female energy. It just always makes me think of like the experience again. I talked about this on other episodes, but like pregnancy and like having children, because you get that like spark of creation, like from the male energy. You could call it the pattern or DNA, right? I know there's female DNA involved too. Yes. But then like you need the mother to form, right? The child grows within her, and she gives birth to the child, and she makes that energy matter. She makes it like an actual like thing, like a physical thing. So I just find that really interesting.
That's
I'm so stuck on the pattern and matter thing. I'm like, ooh, it's so good.
No, that was good. That was good.
That really even that what you were saying right there, like even, and I know I bring this up a lot too, but I think these are both good examples. That movie Mother with an exclamation point. Basically at the end, the chick that he's with, now he would be the patter, she would be the matter. She's burnt out, done to a crisp, and he's still there, but she's done and everything burns to the ground, everything's gone. That house does not turn into a home again until there is another feminine energy showing up in his bed that starts the scene, creates the house and all the grass in the field again. He is the source of energy, and then she is the thing that produces everything with it.
All the meaning.
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
So, yeah.
And then also too, like it always with the crown chakra, especially. I think I mentioned this also on another episode, but I can't recall. Like when I had my kids, like just the top of their heads, like where the crown chakra would be located. The baby's skull is not like fully formed, like for a long time.
The soft spot.
Yeah, the soft spot on top of the baby's head, and it's like the 4 plates of the cranial like plates are not like fully together, so there's literally like a space, right? And I always would feel like so drawn to like touch the top of their head or like kiss the top of their head, because I just feel like they're so connected to source, and it's like so special, like.
And that's why
they're more connected. They're not fully like here in this realm yet. Part of their mind is still like tethered till that the skull is fully formed, and then I feel their connection is more severed to the spiritual realm.
Yeah, no, literally.
Literally.
Yeah.
I think that was something we were gonna. I know that was something I was contemplating on covering. I think with the other person that's going to come on in the next episode that we cover too, because it was something to do with that, and I think the amount of time that grows in, and then something else with inside our head that grows in with a certain amount of time, and they were all like occult numbers and all looks like occult symbolism, so it's very weird. So I think that's actually something that will be brought up in the next episode too.
Yeah,
because it can also look like a cross on your head too as a child.
Yes, it can. Yeah, and as some people point out on old maps of the world, the North Pole looks like that too.
Oh, I never heard of that.
Oh, yeah, man. Yeah, on like really old maps, it's like there's like 4 rivers like pouring out of the top of the earth. Well, or if you want to get into flat Earth, that's a whole other thing. But.
You know what I was even noticing, and I don't know if this was something I was going to bring up. Maybe it was, but like even depending, like sometimes like when I've looked it up, it's not like a perfect cross on the head. It's almost kind of like the cross is a little bit closer to the front of the head. Like it's not even. So it does almost actually, if you think about it, sometimes if you look at like certain shelled bugs that fly, maybe even like beetles, it almost looks like the front part that doesn't come open and then the back part that opens up and flaps. It almost even kind of looks like the beetle.
Well, and in that show, 1899, a big symbol is the scarab beetle, which is a symbol of resurrection, I believe.
Yes. Wow. It's a very big ancient Egyptian.
And then the Christian cross is another symbol of resurrection.
Wow.
Oh,
cool.
shit.
That's cool.
Yes. All right, sorry, we started getting off track, but
Yeah.
right. That was all good stuff. At least it's a teaser for the next show because it's that one's actually going to be pretty fucking wild and deep. I actually think we may. I thought it ruined Christmas. Like, not that Christmas wasn't already ruined for me already. I thought it ruined Christmas for me. She was like, "Oh no, this makes it even more deeper."
It makes it better.
Yeah, I know. When I took your opinion, when I took your look at it, I was like, "All right, I get what you're saying, but we may really blow your minds on some stuff with Christmas as well." So, little teaser.
Yeah.
All right, let me finish this last page. The consciousness of the crown chakra can be roughly divided into two types depending upon where our attention goes. That which descends and becomes concrete information, useful for manifesting in the world, and that which expands and travels outward towards more abstract planes. The first is orientated toward the worlds of things, relationships, and the concrete self. It is a result of limiting attention. It is the consciousness that actively thinks, reasons, learns, and stores information. It is our cognitive consciousness. We can think of it as the lower focus of the crown chakra, organizing finite bits of detail into even larger structures. The second type of consciousness I call transcendent consciousness. It interfaces to a realm beyond the world of things and relationships. It is consciousness without an object, without awareness or reference to the individual self, and without the wide fluctuations that occur in the logical and comparative thought patterns of cognitive consciousness. Instead, this form of consciousness floats in a meta-awareness, encompassing all things simultaneously without focusing on any objects in particular. That probably sounds wild. It floats because it lets go of the normal objects of consciousness and thus becomes weightless and free. So,
Totally. Yeah.
it's like giving up all the handcuffs and being completely free, not bound to anything.
For me, I was thinking about like the two kings in a sense of like I relate them to like Ra and Set, like in ancient times, and then the Greek, was like with like Kronos and Zeus and all that. It's like how Teresa's wearing the orange, and then I got the purple. It's like those are the two kings, like even in the Bible, that like that's why the Bible has it seems like they have two different authors. So it's like this conflicting story that happens, and it's from archetypes, and how you were saying weightless, I think about how like Kronos will have like the Sith and it's like cutting, so it's like weightless. And then the other one, Zeus, is always known like kind of Thor for like the big body, like it's always like the big like it has weight, a lot of weight, like like how Thor would or whatever. And so it's like the weight versus weightless, and so it's like that's like the contradiction of the two kings. Like you have like a shady king, and then who is like Kronos, or like the Set version, and then you have the benevolent, generous one who's like the orange version. So, yeah.
All right, so I guess Teresa, did you want to cover or not? Whichever one of you want to go first.
I don't care.
Yeah, I can go. Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, go.
Well, yeah, just another thought to add on to like what you guys were saying just now. I think it's interesting that the color of the chakra is like white or like violet, but I'll go with white because it's the integration of all the other colors before. You know, like white light looks clear or white, whatever. But then when you hold it to a prism, you see all the other colors broken out, right? So it's building and integrating all the other chakras prior, right? Or the opposite, also the inverse. It can also filter down and provide all the color for all the rest of the chakra. So it goes like both ways, right?
Yeah.
So I always think of this chakra as like your fully most integrated self being activated. So you're building on like all the energies and all the pieces of yourself from lowest to highest, or receiving divine inspiration that then filters down the opposite way through your body. So it's kind of like the transistor, or like, what's the word I'm looking for?
Alternating current up there.
Transmitter, yes. It's AC/DC. Right?
I swear that's why Aleister Crowley gave himself AC as the fucking his initials.
Probably. Seriously.
I guarantee you that has something to do with it.
It is. That's how I think of this chakra. It's like your most integrated self, or as some people like to use the term, your highest self. And then when it's out of alignment, that's when you get a lot of dis-ease or like mental like issues. You know, you could feel very like much melancholy, depression, anxiety, these kinds of things, lack of focus. So like a lot of people think they have ADD, especially as adults. I hear this is a trend I notice online. A lot of women are like, I have ADD, like as an adult. And I'm like, maybe your crown chakra is fucked. I don't know.
It's very possible.
Yeah. And honestly, I think that a lot of social media and like short attention span.
I was going to say, maybe it's just too much social media.
Well, and our attention span has gotten significantly less over like even the last 10 years, 15 years, you know, just with like the more popularity of like shorter form video, TikTok, like Instagram stories, reels, like all this stuff. It's like, it's always shrinking our attention.
More
and
condensed, more condensed.
Yeah, more condensed. And I really feel like that fucks with our like mental energy big time. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I agree with that.
I think that's just, you know, this is a way that they like attack us, shall we say. It's through our energetic system, obviously. Right?
Yeah. If you want to leverage vulnerabilities, you know what I mean? And that would be a tactic, you know.
Totally. Yeah, because this is the chakra that controls like memory, intelligence, focus, these kinds of things, right? But yeah, when it is in balance, you can be very like compassionate and have a lot of like spiritual understanding, feel very connected to the divine. So you want to really
kind of like in the flow with everything.
In the flow, yeah. So you could say like you have to build on all your other chakras to then first like attempt this one. But I think too, sometimes it's the opposite. Because if you want to change something about yourself, say you have like a bad habit or whatever, or that expression. I actually have one of my yoga teachers used to say this all the time. Fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
Right? So you have to decide here first.
And that's why I was saying that the element for this one is thought.
As opposed to
the other ones, which actually have a traditional element, but this one, it's like more etheric. It's more like nothingness, like how a thought could be.
Exactly. Like I can decide tomorrow that I want to be a truck driver. I have to first decide, and then I have to put into action all the things that will make me a truck driver. But I first decided that. You know, it didn't come from my root chakra. It didn't come from the bottom up.
From a need, from like a primal need that you have.
No, let's just say I just like randomly decided it, you know?
Yeah.
So I can just pick an idea out of the ether, implant it in my head, and then implement the action through my body. Right? Yeah. But I have to first make the decision to make all the engine of my body run in that direction. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It starts with a thought.
It starts with the thought, exactly. Because I know a lot of people say, well, you shouldn't like attempt to align your crown chakra till all your other ones are aligned. And that's good advice, sure. But sometimes I think it's just the mind is the more powerful one. So if you can get that in line, then everything else will just follow suit.
How you were saying in the beginning, like in theory, you know, you would want to stack them from the beginning from one up, right? But at the same time, you could also do a version of a hack and go and do the opposite, like in a sense, like you would have that access in a way, you know.
Totally. like right now, I'm going back to the gym a little bit. I have to decide that I go to the gym before my body gets itself there. You know what I'm saying? And I can't rely on the feeling of motivation to get there because I will be won't be motivated anymore after the first week. I won't feel it anymore. You know what I'm saying? I have to decide to just go and make a conscious decision to do it.
To make that mental choice to be there. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah. So I think it is like your most integrated self, and you sometimes make those decisions despite feeling a certain way about it. You know, like this is the one that can override all the rest.
Yes. Mm-hmm. It can change everything. It can cause a chain reaction down to everything else.
Yeah, and I don't know if you want to like some of the poses.
Yeah, go ahead.
Activate this one. So yeah, if you want to work on your crown chakra, activating it, some poses you can do are headstand. So any inversion, so anything where you're upside down is helpful. Headstand, rabbit pose, which is when you would like be kneeling and then you grab behind for your heels, slowly tuck your chin into your chest and curl your spine over. So basically you're holding your heels while the top of your head is touching the ground and your spine is all curled up like a rabbit looks, right? And then another great one is, of course, corpse pose or shavasana, which is like the traditional final pose in a lot of practices. So that's just all the other asana, all the other physical postures is to prepare your body for that one pose of meditation, basically. And then that's just to, connect with the divine and literally practice. Like I had one Buddhist teacher tell me this. It's literally to practice being a corpse. It's practicing how to die well, how to surrender well.
Yeah. Because this color has helped me the most about death, about learning and preparing for death and embracing death for sure. Yeah.
Exactly. I know it's kind of weird to talk about, but it's a reality we all go through.
Watch. Show.
Oh, yes,
that's interesting.
Yeah, see?
Yeah, I think he's got cards. So.
This represents. This is one version of death, and it's like Santa Muerte type of stuff, but like the color would be purple for this.
Oh, yeah, that's true, right?
Yeah, that goes with Saturn as well, with death.
Exactly, yeah. There was
a lot of Halloween colors are orange, of course, but also purple.
Yeah, for sure.
I never thought about that before.
Yeah.
There is also a breathing technique that can really help activate this chakra and bring it back into balance. So, I'd say a pretty common symptom of modern living is anxiety and feeling like stuck in your head, losing focus throughout the day, feeling overwhelmed. So if that ever happens to you, an easy thing you can do is called Nadi Shodhana. So this is alternate nostril breathing. Probably some people have heard of it before, right? So you just take your index and middle finger and tuck them down in your palm. And then you take your thumb to cover your right nostril, right? You breathe in through the left, pause. On the pause, switch your ring finger to cover your left nostril. Breathe out through the right, pause. Breathe in through the right, switch, and breathe out through the left, etc., etc. So, and if you try that, swear to God,
I've done that plenty of times before.
Yeah,
that's come up in books that I've used for breathing techniques and visualizations and shit.
Totally. I mean, that looks a little weird, so you might not want to do it. You could do it sitting at your desk if you have a cubicle. You could just be like, I'm not sniffing coke, I swear to God. Just covering my nostrils. Another cool one, but I forget the name of it, is to form your tongue like a straw. So make a little loop. Good, right?
Okay.
Yeah, and breathe through your tongue like a straw, like that. And then it cools the air and it refreshes you real quick.
Never heard of that.
Yeah,
I've done the alternate one, especially with sinuses or allergies.
Yes.
Because whenever you got a sinus thing or allergies, it's usually one that's more than the other. So then I'll kind of it just kind of helps out for sure. But I never heard of the straw tongue.
The straw tongue. Yeah, I get my kids to do it when they feel nauseous or when they're nervous. If you can just stop and do that, because it's easy for them, they're little.
Yeah.
So I'm like, make a straw with your tongue and breathe through it. And they're like, they're like, "Oh yeah, I feel better, mommy." It's just like these
It's a
little
version
hacks.
of breath work. Yeah, it funnels the
It
breath.
is.
It makes sense. That's
It's
cool.
pranayama,
I never
yeah.
heard of
So
that. Oh, okay. I never.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
sick.
forget the name, but sorry. But yeah, Nadi Shodhana is really useful, and if you can practice it regularly, you'll notice like your concentration and focus does improve for sure.
Yeah, because you're focusing the air. So then you would figure the rest will probably follow, right?
Well, it's called pranayama, right? The practice of breathing, controlling your breath. If you can control your breath, you control your prana, which is your life force.
Yeah.
That's the whole point,
Yeah.
right?
Dope.
Good,
Yeah.
very good way to say it.
That's
Hell
what
yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty much all from me, I think.
Cool.
All right.
Shit. Well.
All right.
Yeah. Well,
Louis.
man. So I like The Crown, man. I got a thing for that one. It's like the culmination of all of this shit. You know how they stack on top of each other like little discs or whatever, and so
Russian
The Crown is
dolls.
actually, huh?
Like those Russian dolls, one inside the next.
Yeah, yeah. And then so
Oh,
they
yeah.
relate to each other, and then like if one is affected, the other one's affected in a sense, and then so therefore the crown is like the culmination. And then I mean, like I think we referred to it before. I'm not sure me and you talked about it, but it's like a barometer for the rest of them. Like the last real one, or no, me and Teresa were talking about this. The last real one that does that type of work in the body is the third eye one, but the barometer, it's like the culmination. So it's like it adds up all the stuff, it tallies all the stuff, just how Saturn will tally and do the checks and balances. It tallies all the stuff to make sure the alignment is good. It's all about the alignment. And then if the alignment is good, it's like a key that just hit its spot, and then you can go in there and then you have access or to the cosmos, like you're out there. So how Teresa was saying, it's like, you know, the baby soft spot. Me and you talked about NY about a dolphin in the blowhole. I would give that analogy, right? It's the same spot. The blowhole is the same spot as the soft spot of a baby. And then if you think about it, when the baby comes to this earth, it's like that's the last spot to get kind of cemented into, earth or whatever. Therefore, it was the last part of heaven. So it's like our tether or like our umbilical cord to the heavens or to the cosmos, And a lot of this stuff, like it boils down to, in a nutshell, trust in the universe. If you have trust in the universe, you'll be able to blow out of it, like your blowhole, right? And if you don't trust the cosmos, then you might have things like feelings of like confusion or a lack of motivation, or on extreme levels, like the homeless people, like here in San Francisco, you see a lot of that, people talking to themselves, and they're out in space land talking to God knows who out there. They're too etherical, they're too out there and like not grounded. And then how you do initially, you want to start with the root. At the same time, you could start with the crown, but if you start with the crown in an extreme level, you'll be kind of like the homeless people that are talking to themselves too much if you're not grounded at all. That's and so but it is true, like they are connected like that, just like the how the root and the crown are connected is just the same way the tower is connected. Me and NY were talking about this on our freaking planet series. And the colors, you see there's a purple chakra, but the colors right there is the red fire. It's going down. And then NY in our planet series, you were talking about how if you do this part right, if you burn and crumble down correctly, like on par, then you will get the crown. The crown comes after this. So the root and then the crown are because they're on the ends, so they're kind of tied, but they're obviously the opposite. So there's something to that for sure. And
that card even does, that tower card even falls on a path between the spheres on the tree of life. So like it even is in the middle in a sense of the two pillars. So they always say you should, you're supposed to use the middle pillar, you're supposed to be in the middle. I even think that's showing you it's like the rising up the middle.
Yeah, and then the crown's on top, right? That's a little crown right on the top. Yeah. You burn it right, you end up crowning. And then so
You know what's weird?
Just
They were
all I'm
talking
saying,
about, sorry, real quick, they're talking about all those
Yeah.
electrical synapses going on inside your brain. And then you're showing the thing of lightning. Like, how do you know that's not just a representation of electricity?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you
It's
could
that-
even
it's
get
that
that
flash.
deep, you know?
Yeah, no, it's that flash, and just how we're saying the element is thought. It's like the flash of the thought, because a thought comes just like that in an instant, in a flash. Yeah, so yeah, so with the crown, man, it's like besides trust in the universe, the crown is basically
That would help.
you like where you acknowledge like how Teresa was saying, like your higher self, you acknowledge something that's beyond you, that's up like there in a sense, you know what I mean, to give you, like we'll think of out there. And then so it's when you make the decision as a human to like all right, there's something beyond me and I'm gonna work with it and adhere to it. And then that's where a relationship happens, you know what I mean, like that's like the judgment, I guess, if you think about it, because like with this one, you obviously see the big old angel with the trumpet. He's like way above you. So it's like acknowledging that there's something like above you and beyond. And then, so if you roll with that and make trust in that, you can start to make this connection, you know what I mean? So, yeah. And so this one's also like pretty much like with tarot. I noticed that a lot of the analogies were like something that was like above you, like higher than you. Like I had mentioned lovers earlier, I think like in the heart chakra, but I didn't want to use that. But it's a similar thing because it's the couple with the like the angel or whatever that is above them. So it's like always like you're always adhering. So there's always like this part. It's like you're on the base, but then you're going to the like the monad or the source or like the higher thing, which gives the judgment. And then you're allowing yourself to be judged in a sense, because at this point you have to look at yourself to find out like what you are, who you are, maybe what's missing, because this is where you will want to strive for like the concept of enlightenment. And then at this point is where you do that soul searching, because you want to go beyond. And then so like that's like the main thing is you want to like whatever it is, you're like, I know there's more to it. And that's why I was saying the people who I know who have the top two chakras are the people who have seen a beyond or believe in a beyond, or they just have it like that, right? And then the people who don't have the top two chakras are people who can't conceptualize anything beyond here. They'll just say, oh no, this is where I'm at, this is all I know, which is fine too. Like I'm not hating on that, but that's what I've noticed. And then so yeah, so that's a part of that for sure.
Well, knocking those two things off is what could also make somebody believe a lot of bullshit here is actually important. Hence the theater on the fucking TV we get constantly when you put on the news.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
look at it. I mean, this will show, I guess, date how old the show is. But I mean, today, fucking Trump's getting indicted. It's like, really? Come on.
Wow.
It's fucking, what is this, reality TV? Start it up.
Well, he's a reality TV star. It's his niche.
He was already there. That's his niche.
You think
That's what he's good at.
He's good at that.
Reality TV is when your president actually used to fuck hookers and you think it's okay. Because if you think about it, when you really think about what's going on right now, he's not being indicted for what he did, because you can pay hush money. That's not illegal. It was the funds, the way that he used it. So the news is actually telling you, yes, he did fuck her, and he did pay her to shut up, but the money he used was not good. That's literally exactly what the masses are being told, and just see it as only one part of that.
So the morality of it is neither here nor there. Who cares about that part? It's the money part that's fucked.
And the thing is that when people will go and defend him, they will say, well, they'll just stick to the way that they're trying to get him, and not even realize that you're actually like defending a dude that is a president and wants to run for president that has fucked prostitutes. I mean, porn stars. Like, that's reality TV. That has to be reality TV for people to be in the living room probably looking at Fox flipping out over a dude who's admitted to fucking prostitutes wants to run your country. But yet we're going to shit on Biden's son for fucking prostitutes, and he's running the country.
That's a shit show.
So
This
what's
is
going
where
on
we're
here?
at.
Fucking clown
This is
world.
where we're at.
Clown world.
Yeah, man, for real.
In another 2 weeks, so Trump was probably smoking crack too. No, it's all right. It's okay. You know.
Here's the thing, though.
There's pictures of Trump sniffing cocoa for fucking Stormy Daniels' fucking ass. Oh, it's all right. Yeah, he's just being a dude. It's all right. That's what guys do. He's being a dude. But when Hunter Biden does it, he's being a fucking jerk off. You know what I'm saying? Like, the way people justify shit, you're being fucking played.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and here's the thing. If you're connected to source and you have a strong relationship with
you realize it's all a fucking joke.
Yourself, you probably look at that and just laugh, you know.
Like I mentioned before, that's when you realize it's all just a play.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, exactly. Right? Oh, man. So actually what you were saying, Lou, reminded me of a Bible quote.
Yeah.
So like how, you know, you're saying like when you do like the personal work and you do work on yourself, you work on all these aspects of yourself and you finally are like integrated, right? At the crown. So there's, I think it's from the 1 Corinthians chapter 9. So the quote is, "Do you not know that in a race, all the runners run, but only one gets the prize? Run in such a way as to get the prize. Everyone who competes in the games goes into strict training. They do it to get a crown that will not last, but we do it to get a crown that will last forever."
Hell yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. It's like,
once you
like
become a
from my
king or a
personal
queen, it's forever.
experience-
What?
Once you become a king or a queen, it's forever.
Dang, that's
Yeah.
true.
No, what? In my opinion, honestly, like from my personal experience, when I've had my moments of where I felt like transcendent or something like that, it's when I had an alignment like right around here, like starting here, and then it kind of ended like, I guess, I don't know, just like in the back of my head, like right around here, right? And I felt like something here lock in, and then it made me feel super balanced. And then, so I guess I like that, you know, being like a Libra and stuff. And when I felt this transcendentness, when I felt that something here, like I think it has something to do with like your craniosacral fluid, like when it shoots up, and then like, because there's like, you know, healing modalities you can do with that, which I mess with too. And
Doesn't
I
that
do
go
it with
along with
myself.
like the whole claustrum thing that Jim Carrey went on about?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Because craniosacral is when your sacrum, which is the orange chakra, and then this one right here are misaligned. And so if that happens, a lot of the fluid, the anointing fluid that we have that can make us find our Christ-like self, when that's thrown off, everything, like you can never, like you're always so close, but you're never grabbing it. So that's why I would do craniosacral techniques on myself. And then that's why in the sacral episode that we did, I was talking about that I do hella this to myself, still currently doing yoga. And then it makes sense that you're wearing the orange beanie, I'm wearing the purple hat, because that's the craniosacral therapy. And then just how I said a little while ago, those are the two kings. That's Ra and Set fighting. That's Zeus and Kronos fighting. It's those two guys, or the two different like seeming authors in the Bible. That's them contradicting themselves. Like this is always the story. And then so one is like the shady ruler, who they call the shady ruler in a sense, and the other one is like the benevolent, generous ruler. But you don't fully get to become a king on earth until you finally align yourself with the shady ruler. You know what I mean? With the Set, and
Integrate the shadow, right?
Yeah. You have to learn to be a shadow worker, and then eventually a shadow master, where you embrace all the darkness, and then you go head first, nose first, or whatever.
That's why the sun behind you has black metal.
Yeah. And so it takes that's why like here I'm alive, but what I'm doing is honestly, I'm like preparing myself for death. Like because I know that this is like a snap of an instant compared to what's out there. And so I'm doing my best to like prep myself and all that. And yeah, you know, and then it was funny. I was listening to a video earlier today, and some lady mentioned that, like, you know, we keep talking about the soft spot, the blowhole, you know what I mean? And she was saying, like, if you want, do like a headstand to get this thing going, you know, like put yourself upside down and have all the pressure go there. And obviously the pressure's going to go on the top of your head. right? And that's the kind of like get it going, stimulate it. You know what I mean? Like, you know, something like that.
Yeah. Well, and you know what's funny? Like little kids do that a lot naturally. They go upside down a lot. Like if you ever watch a young toddler play, they're up.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
Oh, before you were talking about hanging upside down.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Those are the
Well,
poses
the first
that
thing
will
that go to your
activate
head is like something's gonna have to end up, you know, kicking. You know what I mean? Like when you're starting a lawnmower, you know.
But like you see little children do that a lot. Or like I used to do this as a kid. I remember I hang off the arm of the couch like upside down, like arching your back, and then this like your whole chest is open and you're like flailed upside down, right?
Yeah.
I used to do that constantly and thought that was like the coolest shit. And then you have like such a rush when you like pull up after, right?
Yeah.
I used to hang off my bed like that. Yeah.
Hang off a chair, like hang off the couch.
That's
Kids
the beginning.
do that all the time. They are so much more connected than we are.
That's the beginning of, as a kid, once the kid comes down from the high off of that, you realize that there's something beyond here. So you start tripping out.
Does it, when you do that, does it literally send more blood to your head?
Hell yeah.
See, now again, if we go back to there actually being some sort of energy in your head, I could understand why wanting to focus that. You know, if you hung upside down, that could be like a shortcut to doing that if you couldn't do it yourself mentally. Mm-hmm. You'd just be sending more energy to your head if there is something inside your blood.
Yeah, because the stuff in your head is the access to heaven. That's why head and heaven. And then the stuff by your feet is the access to being grounded on Gaia, on Earth. You know what I mean?
I think it has something to do with the plasma.
And you need both. And you need both because, like I said earlier, if you're just so up here, which I was doing that a lot in my days when I was learning like the energetics and stuff like that, I was way too much up here without being grounded. So I was closer to like the homeless people who were talking to themselves, like just Looney Tunes, like way out there. But you need a balance of both for sure. And that's why the tower, how we were talking about the tower is red and purple. It's like you need both. You have to crumble all the way down, and in order for you to finally like kind of be really etherical, like, you know, in a grounded way. It's like a weird oxymoron.
It is.
You know, but
root down to rise up, or like the phoenix, you know, burn to resurrect, right?
And everyone's different. Yeah, and everyone's different. Everyone has their own things to do first. Some people have to embrace the darkness first. Some people got to embrace the light first. It just depends on your DNA or whatever the hell, right?
It's funny how you're talking about like the top and the bottom and like the oxymoron. The author of this book does, I think, have like suggested like meditations. I don't know if it's in the book or if it was like old videos that they did. But they do at one point, I think before you do any of their meditations to get into your chakras, the lady does have you kind of like do an exercise where you're actually like kind of like pulling your crown up and your root down. Oh. And she goes on saying that if you're doing it right, you should actually feel something kind of like throughout the middle of you. And like if you really were to focus on it, I swear to you, it's like you feel like almost like a chain that all of a sudden that just got like that, like pulled together, and you feel everything. Awesome. You almost feel like everything's interlined, and you feel like it's really weird. It's really weird.
That's dope. See, I've heard of this part. Like I've done this one, but I never did that with the red at the same time, which I should have been doing. But I never heard of that one with the red at the same time. That makes all the sense.
Yeah. Then after that, then you would go into the meditation and make sure that you're actually like, you know, aligned correctly.
That's sick.
Yeah, it's cool. It just made me think of that while you were talking about matching the top to the bottom. And like I said, I was even going to get into that a little bit, but I said I was going to wait till the next episode. But like, you know, even Crowley, I hate to go back to him, but like even the idea of Pan, a lot of people do look at that as neither an almighty, the God of all, or it's even the God of this world. So you could say, again, as above, so below. So like, I do think there is the lower sphere is the top sphere in full manifestation. After every little bit or idea of information, like I was saying before, has gone down the whole fucking row of everything, you finally make it into the flesh and who you are now. Just like the card. It builds all the way down, that one little spark of electricity in your brain goes down to that foundation that gets grounded into this fucking world.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and the only way you're going to change it is by changing that electrical spark up there and breaking the stone and changing who you are.
And that's a trick within itself. You know, it's really cool.
It's like the spark from the chisel and the stone. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's sick how you come back around, you know. I got this one here too. Ace of Cups. So with this one, you see how it's like outpouring? And so I think about this is pouring down, but for this chakra, it's like I feel like it's like this. It's like we're shooting upwards. And then so it gets affiliated with like violet and white. And so I think that like the violet part is a part that's actually anchored on to like the actual vessel, right? And then once you start beaming, obviously then it's like the white part, like then, you know, like the cosmic part or the heavenly part. And so and so that's why it's like a barometer, because it has the stem, like the stem is here in the violet, and then it'll shoot like once you shoot out, you know, like your blowhole. And
I like how you added the purple is kind of like still like I guess like anchored or tethered to you know here.
Yeah, because it's still attached to the indigo, which is like the previous. So they, you know, because they all kind of attach, even though they're separate, but they still kind of have a resemblance. You know, just how green has a little bit of yellow in it, right? And so like they still all kind of have an interconnection. So yeah, and
like even on the Tree of Life, before you cross over the abyss, the top spheres before that are red and blue. So I mean that would make purple, but like you're still, in my opinion, even if you like added them together and like made another sphere, I guess like Doth or whatever, you know, in that area, you still haven't crossed over yet. It's like you know that's kind of like the high arc at the top before you actually go into the supernal triad, which would be the spirit. So the purple, I totally see that as being like maybe the high arc of the physical self.
Yeah. No,
and then the white light being the spirit, maybe, or you know, whatever you want to call it, consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they all kind of fade into each other a little bit.
Yeah, and like going on the theme of like white light, you know, how I said before, like white light, when you put a prism to it, then it breaks out into all the colors, you know. So I like, Louis, what you're saying, you know, the white light is more connected to like the ethereal or like the divine. So maybe our physical body is like a prism, you know, we like refract
100%.
the light within us, and we oh my God, what is the word I'm looking for?
Refract.
Thank you. Yeah. Yes, I could not say it. We refract like divine light within us, right? And we break it into all these like tangible pieces. So we're like a prism. Our body is like a vessel in that way.
Yeah. And then what's cool is that we're all unique like a snowflake. So even though we all have all the colors, we still have like a main color in a sense, because out of the 7 main colors, like maybe there were a seraphim that were in a different dimension that were maybe making like an art project, and maybe we were the art project or the creation of a project. And then so each one of those main angels or colors, you know, like we each reside maybe more with one out of those main colors, and then we still have all the other ones in us like a rainbow.
Sure. Well, if we're all like made of electromagnetic frequency, basically, you know, we're all gonna resonate slightly differently. So we'll have one little thing like more dominant than the other.
Yeah. If like when I do tell people this, I told another occultist, Quinn, my buddy, that I've done the most work in a sense with purple, with Saturn or whatever, or with the crown. And so that's why I can relate to it, that it's all about like alignment. Like that is like a huge word. Like if you have yourself in alignment, like if your body can match your mind, can match your soul in alignment, then that's when you'll be a king here walking on earth. And you'll feel the bliss, how you were talking about bliss earlier, NY. There's like a bliss that comes with it, and then like an understanding and a knowing and an assuredness with being a king. And then and it's all with being in alignment with yourself, because God forbid you do it for anybody else around here. Because a theme that I was having today, I was working my ass off today at work. We got Easter coming, you got all types of shit coming, and I was like, man, like people that you thought had your back, is like they don't really have your back how you would have somebody's back. So in the end, you have to make it for yourself. Be in alignment with yourself. And then that's like your best bet. You know what I mean? From there, then you can help everyone else out with your boundaries, appropriated and respectfully. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to take away from other people or take away from myself, like by hating, you know what I mean? In a sense, by like holding myself back. But boundaries are good. And then so you'll learn lessons around here with boundaries. And then in the end, it's like, all right, the best energy for me is myself. So I'm going to like go off me accordingly. And yeah, so that's a part of being a king. You can't follow others like that in a sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and just something I wanted to add real quick, like for someone who's maybe more of like a Christian mindset listening and kind of getting like their panties in a wad talking about like integrating your shadow and shit, just a thought, because sometimes I think we're all just really talking about the same thing a lot of the time. That, the purpose of evil or the adversary is to push you, to propel you to good, right?
Yeah.
So that's like the purpose of the shadow. You can either allow the shadow to consume you and be totally fucked, and then that would be like literally hell, right? Or you can use those challenges in life to propel you towards improving yourself.
Yeah, it's just to acknowledge. It's just to acknowledge, just to keep it real. Because before, what I was doing, I was running away from my shadow all the time, running away from my tail.
You can't outrun that shit.
Yeah, and then in the end, and then if you like, the more you do that, later on, it's gonna slap you in the face really hard, and then like life could get really hard. And then so I'm like, okay, let me just start acknowledging all this shit, and then that way, I can. So now my karma is more insta karma, like lessons that I have to learn happen immediately to me. Like, okay, like I'll back off.
Yeah.
Because now like the judgment card, when you see somebody over you, and judgment isn't like a bad thing. Like karma is actually good because it shows you that stuff around here is actually legit. Like it's actually fair. Like if you put that out, you're gonna get this back somehow in a sense. And so I keep learning these lessons. So like, okay. So that's why, like, even if I know someone doesn't have my back, I'm not going to like hate them per se, because I'm just going to end up like hating on myself in a way. But it's a fine line, and it's a teaching between boundaries for sure. And so that's why this chakra is really good for that. I got this here. Look at this. It says flexible ruler. I don't know if you guys can see that. Flexible ruler. And this is purple ruler that I happen to stumble on right here. And so just how Zeus, orange is one ruler, purple is the other ruler, and it shows you the other, like the fine line that you got to have. And you do got to be flexible, because if not, you're going to be shooting your own self in the foot, And so
I like that.
I like that.
Shooting yourself in the foot. I was going to, did you have any more cards left?
I don't.
Oh, you know what I was thinking about before, real quick? I don't want to forget to say it. When you were talking about alignment, I thought about something. And we were talking about these alignments and these alignments. I was like, again, like I'm thinking of alignments and planetary stuff. I was like, and then going back to thinking about what I was saying earlier, about how, supposedly if there's these planets out in space, how they're satellites, how our satellites that we're sending out to Saturn, how it got out there. If you think about the way that it talks about how it like uses each planet's fucking like gravitational pull and movement, I mean that really, if the planets were aligned, like I guess you could keep skipping, just like you're supposed to go up the chakras. Like it's funny as it's silly as it sounds, like when you think about how the chakras are supposedly spinning and how you're supposed to keep moving up from one to the next. I really do get the idea of like how satellites supposedly are jumping from one planet to get to the next. And then we're talking about alignment. Planets align, it's just, it's very, very interesting.
The disc spin, the ball spins, all that spins. It's a trip. Yeah.
I'm sorry. So now you have another card? Sorry about that.
Yeah, I got this last one. It's a star. And so at first I was like, I'm not sure if I really, but on this whole thing, there's a purple chakra right there. And so I was like, I guess it kind of goes. And then for the star, it says this card is represented by faith and hope and the possibility of fulfilling desire associated with the planet Uranus and the sign Aquarius. And then so it's the crown chakra. So and then so okay, so the planet Uranus, right? With Uranus, that's tied to the Fool, which is kind of also it was kind of tied to this one, but I didn't bring it out. But I think of like my zodiac chart because it's like in the shape of a bucket. Like it says you're a bucket shape. It's all like right here, and then so if I flip mine, everything will be like everything that I have filled up in here will be knocked like just all gone. So that's like the whole thing of Uranus. Like Uranus is the most extreme flip floppy planet. You know what I mean? It's like the most 180-degree planet that there is. And then so it's funny that this is tied to the crown because if you have your crown and then you flip, you know, it's the same thing as the bucket head, where it's like a similar concept where it's very sensitive to being flipped over. Yeah, so there's something about that too.
Oh, and Buckethead Aquarius. That's interesting.
Yeah, because I've been known. I've been called out for having like an eraser head. That's like my version. And then when I saw my great grandfather's picture at my grandpa's house, his name is Sixto. I'm like, oh, that's where I got that bucket eraser head. It's like the same little head, and so yeah, it's there's something to that a little bit.
No, what did you say his name was? Sixto?
Yeah, Sixto.
How do you spell that?
Like Sixto.
Yo, I saw a license plate.
Oh, that's wild.
Are you kidding me?
No.
Oh,
yeah, she even sent it to me because it had the Masonic thing.
A picture of it because it had a Freemasonic license plate holder on it.
Whoa, dang.
And I was like, yo, I wonder what that
random.
means. And then like you explained like you thought it was from Canada. Like, you know,
Well, yeah, because Toronto's nickname is the Six, so I thought it might be 6TO. But I'm like, Sixto is like a name, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
also, so.
It's my great grandfather's name, which I never heard of a name like that until I saw his head, and I was like, "That's my head," you know. And well, what's funny is that like the background on this is that did I mention that to you, NY? That well, my birthday is on October 6th, which is 10/6, and the Mad Hatter, right, is on his hat. He has 10/6, and so I've always called myself a sixer. And then that's why when we were doing our planet series, I was talking about like Lucifer, and then 6 is like sex and all that. And then I'm born on the 6th, and then so I have a tie to the sixer. And then what 10/6 taught me is that even though I'm in a body here, I have the 10 over me, which is the 10 is like God. Because like imagine you're rating people, like you know how people rate people, like, oh, like is he a 10 or is he a 5 or what is he, right? And so the joke that I always had like from years ago as like a teenager, I would always say this. I was like even if it's the hottest person, they could only be a 9.9 because God is the only 10. And then that's why I have 10/6. God is over me. Just like the judgment card, it's like over me. So like that's kind of like how I live my life. Like what's helped me is that because if I didn't live like this, I'd be like fucking, I don't know. Like,
you know
like
No, and Saturn is the 6th planet from the sun.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what's interesting too? Now, if you were to, now the 6 out of 10 is also like would be an initiatory. Would also be like degrees.
I never heard of that.
Yeah. Well, like because there's 10 spheres on the tree. In like the Astrum Argentum, the Golden Dawn, you know, some secret societies, as you go up the tree and you go to that degree, you're supposed to be matching that number on the tree. The 6th sphere out of the 10, you know, could be, I guess, looked at as Tifereth, and that is when you come in contact with your holy guardian angel. So even the 6 out of 10 inside that guy's hat in Alice in Wonderland, I can understand that to an extent.
Wow, what a trip, dude. Yeah, because I always related to him because I always knew I had like some version of like dyslexia, like not official dyslexia, but I knew I was like a mirror. You know how when you look at a mirror, it's the same thing, but it's flipped, right? Like everything. So I'm kind of like that. Like I'm like a weird dyslexic. And then, so that's why I had to learn about this in order to get my life right. Because if not, I'm always like messed up. And so, yeah. And so what I learned recently, like on some video, I forgot, but what I learned recently about the Mad Hatter, like in terms of like, I forgot what year it was. I don't know if it was the 20s, but back in the day, like almost 100 years ago, they had people with the hats who were selling hats, and they would stack them on their heads, and then they would sell these hats out to people, and then they ended up getting crazy, and that's why they call them mad, right? And then so the reason why they got crazy is because apparently they put mercury. I don't know how this happened, but the story that I saw recently was they put mercury on their hat or on their head for some reason. So that mercury ended up giving them toxic shit to make them Looney Tunes, to make them crazy.
Oh, wow.
And then if you think about mercury, I think about Thoth. Thoth is like, I think about the blue bird, and that's why I have the blue bird on my freaking logo when I stream. You know, I have the thought on my head. So that's
Louis,
like
you said that this chakra is the barometer of all the chakras. What's in a thermometer?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's just it's the culmination of whatever it is. The barometer always changes. Just how a barometer at your house or in your car, one day, like 1 second it'll be 58 degrees. The next second it'll be 59. Later on,
mercury is what allows us to indicate the temperature and the pressure changes.
Oh, damn, yeah.
It's what's inside.
Oh, and it's hella random that I don't know. Like I don't know how I heard this story, but like whenever those people were selling the hats like that was like 100 years ago. I don't know why they would put mercury, but they put mercury in their hat, which got to their head, and then it made them crazy. And so there's something to that, or in terms of me, in terms of like figuring out myself. But I'm realizing it now that it's tied to a thought on my head, and it's tied to the whole 10/6, because that's the lesson. Because that's why that Mad Hatter has like why else would the Mad Hatter have on his little hat with a paper 10/6? Like how random.
And what's he always doing too? What are they always doing? They're always having tea. You got to add heat. You got to add heat to that barometer, Louis. You got to add heat to that tea to create some steam.
Yeah.
So your spirit can rise.
And that's why my two main elements in my chart is air and fire. So what's that? Steam. That's why I get that's why before I met you guys, oh my God, like people that knew me.
Let's have another cup of tea.
They would call me out for my steaminess, so to speak. Like,
another cup of steam.
I've done a lot of shadow work, or whatever you want to call it, internal work, to work on that part of myself, because before it was like my barometer was off the hook, like I couldn't control it, type of thing, a little bit.
You weren't smoking the same as everybody else.
So, apparently not. No, I was mushrooming. I was mushrooming this. I don't know what I was doing. Yeah.
Awesome, Louis.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
I think we're like an hour and a half now. There was only one chakra, and I think we wrapped up the series pretty well right there. So
yeah, I say so.
Maybe we'll leave it there. There was one thing I did want to. I just want to read this real quick, and it popped up in my head because it was something that I actually did, I think, on the last episode of the Scarlet Horse series, and like, unfortunately, people will probably be like, "Oh, I guess he just likes the Velvet Underground. They're a pretty cool drug addict hippie band." But like, I actually used the song and the visuals for a specific reason. And we were talking about white light, and for some reason, it made their song pop into my head. And like, I'm not saying that these musicians did not sing about drugs in their music. They obviously did. But sometimes I do think that also is a way to sweep misunderstood lyrics under the rug with drug addiction. Real quick, I just want to read off a few lines from the song White Light, White Heat, and I think you two will understand why I brought this up. White light going messing up my mind, and don't you know it's going to make me go blind. White heat, it tickled me down to my toes. Then it also goes on to say, white light moved in me through my brain. White light going, making you go insane. White light, it tickles me down to my toes. White light, it lightens up my mind, my eyes. Don't you know it fills me up with surprise? And then white heat tickles me down to my toes. To me, I know everybody would think that that's speed or cocaine abuse that they're known for, but I would question if maybe there's something else is being said in those types of lyrics. What we're talking about right now made me think of that in a sense. Hence why I included it on an intro. It wasn't just because it was the Velvet Underground. It was because of what was being said.
Nice.
All right, so that wraps up this series. I thank you both for like I said before. This took about 2 months, and even prior to that, about probably a week or two of researching before we even did the first episode. So this took a lot of time, and I thank you both for sticking out and doing it. I had a blast, and I really think all the listeners will love it as well. Louis, would you like to let everybody know where they can find your stuff?
Yeah, dude. Well, right on. First, thank you to you guys too, for sure. Really good shit, man. I felt really supported on this whole series, and then I'm glad we were able to like tell a story, because we actually kind of did. We like set a foundation from the beginning, and like we told a story, kind of set everything up. So when you end up listening to the whole series, it just really ties it in together like a nice bow or whatever. Like you can really kind of relate to how everything kind of has a stepping stone, and it all makes sense like a story. So so I'm really grateful, and I want to thank you guys for that for sure. And you can find my podcast Uncanny Mystic Minds on all major platforms. I'm doing YouTube now, and the videos are on Spotify, and and then you can even email me for inquiries or anything like that on uncannymysticminds@gmail.com.
Very nice. Yo, so now you also put up, that was something I was doing, not anymore. So now I'm assuming what you're saying is that if people listen to you on Spotify, they could actually watch the video with the podcast, correct? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, like pretty much.
I don't know if people know that Spotify actually does that. You can actually watch a video podcast.
Yeah, like basically all my videos on Spotify are video, except the ones that I do a story time. I do those like audio. But pretty much anyone with interviews or like multiple folks, you know what I mean, like this, it'll be a video.
He does it outside in his bathrobe smoking a pipe, so he doesn't want to show people that one.
I know. I did a couple of videos with me like reading it. I'm like, I don't think people want to see me like reading, like actually reading. So I was like, I'll just make that audio. Yeah, because there's different books I want to get in. Like I want to show this next one. I'm really excited. I'm gonna tell you guys. It's about sorcery. And it's like really good. I like this author. He talks about occult stuff, sorcery, and mystical things. And so I'm like, I like his writing style. So I'm kind of excited to share that next one. Yeah.
Good. That's awesome. Cool stuff. And now, Teresa, what is up? And thank you.
Thank you guys. Yeah, this was so much fun. I got to like go back to my yogi days a little bit and try to remember stuff that I learned a long time ago. I was like, shit, I actually learned a lot back then. I should really implement that into my life again. But if people want to hear more from me, they could check out the Spiritual Gangsters podcast. That's on all like the major podcast platforms. Rumble, like you said before, which I really love Rumble because like the player pops out. Like you can lock your phone or like your mobile device, and it still plays, which I think is awesome. Unlike YouTube, unless you pay for premium, which I will never. But
no, believe it or not, I'm pretty sure my episodes will still do that. There's actually, I think there's something that I must be clicking there's certain things that when you upload a video to YouTube, if you make it, I think, click on a certain box that does something, it will no longer add. It has to do something with like the parental settings. It could be I don't know. I was reading into it, and like if you click on something when you're uploading your video, it will not allow it to play openly.
Okay.
Because I could do that with some techno songs. I could still open it up and leave it open on the thing and then close it out.
Oh, I've never been able to do that.
Yeah, but there are a lot of videos that now you can't do that with. But Rumble definitely does all the time. So.
Yeah, Rumble, I like that about that. And yeah, people can find me most on Instagram. I'm sure those links will be there. And newly on Twitter. So come find me.
Yes.
Get at me, dog.
Yo, hit me up. No, don't do that. Unless you have a question or something constructive to say, please.
Yeah, inquiry.
Yeah, exactly.
But yes, and also like to remind people, if you're listening, there is video platforms. Like I said, like when I stream a lot out, it will be going to Odyssey, Rumble, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. But I mean, just even for the podcast, for both our shows, we do have Rumble, and Rumble is a backup for things that can't go on YouTube. And we have YouTube. I have BitChute, and we have the podcast. So There we go. There's that spiel. Real quick, I do want to add, though, after this episode, I think there's 3 guests that I had on to give me time to start the next topic. The next 2 topics. The next topic, like I said, will be going into the, kind of like the head and looking at certain things. But then after that, we should be having very excited to do this one, actually. It's another cult. Surprisingly, it has nothing to do with touching kids. Who would have thought we could cover a cult that doesn't involve kitty diddling? Yes, the Occult Rejects will be doing that finally. We'll be covering a cult that has nothing to do with touching kids. Now, maybe that went on, but that's not what this is going to be based about. And it actually, in my opinion, is probably being run or influenced by 2, if not 3, secret societies. And I think I could easily prove that. And this one should be very interesting, very juicy. And there'll be tons of video footage and pictures, and should be very, very interesting. So that's just a little teaser. We got that coming out, and we got symbolism in your head. Thank you again, Louie and Teresa, for coming on and killing this series with me. To me, that was definitely a signature Occult Rejects. Thank you.